Welcome back to the side of the internet for anyone and everyone who is looking to build their dream life. My name is Cornelia. I'm a creative entrepreneur, a video creator and producer, as well as a small business owner based here in Canada. I create videos on how to curate your dream life, scale your passions, go after what you love, all while avoiding burnout and living a life of balance. So thanks for being here. I hope you enjoy this week's video. Let's not waste any time and dive right in. Hello pals, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm really excited about today's video because I'm going to be breaking down all of the things that have worked in 2025 as a business owner and entrepreneur and everything that hasn't worked in the same way. So buckle up, please pour yourself a coffee or a tea. I'm going to teach you a few tips and tricks about being a creative entrepreneur and a small business owner and everything I've learned, because this was a really big year of learnings and I'm super excited to share. Also, if you are not following the blog that I write with my best friend, Living in Lifestyle, definitely check it out. I've linked it down below. I have tied this episode to a blog post. So if you're more of a reader and a blog girly / Substack girly, definitely check that out. All right, let's not waste any time and let's dive right in. Hi, Molly. You're in my camera. Somebody wants to be part of the video. All right, so first things first. Let's dive into what is working in my business and my journey as a creative entrepreneur, which hopefully will inspire you guys and give you some insight as to the direction you want to go in. So for 2025, I feel like, let's just start with, this business has not been a one-year thing. I started creating YouTube videos back in 2020. I moved across the country to Alberta from Ontario in 2021. That was a huge life upheaval, let go of my stable career, and decided I want to be an entrepreneur. So for the last 4 years, I have been developing my different business and income streams. These income streams, to give you a little bit of a background, is I am a content creator, so I do Instagram, YouTube, TikTok content. I'm a UGC creator, so I create videos for brands that don't have my name on them. I have real estate. I am a producer at a production company here in Calgary. I have a blog that I run with my best friend, like I mentioned earlier, Living in Lifestyle, and I have a candle business. So those are like the main things that I put my energy into every single week. Now, not all of them produce an income, but the goal is that I will have 6 to 7 income streams as I head into my 30s. So the 7th one that I'm missing is the stock market, but I don't really consider that a job because it doesn't really take me time, but you do see income from it. So those are my 7 streams of income. But I will say what I put my most energy into every week that takes up the most of my time is my producing job. It is a full-time job. So that takes up, let's say, 40 hours a week. On top of that, I have this YouTube channel. I put out 1 long form video a week. I have my content creation. I put out 4 to 5 short form videos across all platforms every week. We write a blog post every week. And UGC work, I would say I probably film about 5 to 6 videos every month. So those are the 5 things that take up the most time. And so when I'm talking about, what's working and what's not working as a creative entrepreneur, those are the areas that I'm really talking about. So if you're interested in that topic, if you do any of those things yourself, you're a content creator, maybe you're an actor, that's something else that I do. You have a blog, for example, or a YouTube channel, this video is definitely for you. So first things first, what are my ins for the year? What are things that have worked? Because let's start talking positive first. I would say number 1, consistency has been the biggest thing that I've noticed that has moved the needle forward. As somebody who flip-flopped with YouTube for the first 3 years I was doing it, I was not consistently posting every week, and I think that has really slowed down my process. I think that now I'm 4 years in, I'm seeing so much more growth in the last 2 years when I'm showing up consistently. So, and it's not just about YouTube, it's also about social media. If you're posting twice a week, 1 week, and then once a week, and then 5 times a week, you are gonna confuse the algorithm. I am starting to really notice a shift in my content when I'm consistently posting 1 day a week on YouTube and 4 shorts a week, let's say. I typically try to do 4 reels every week or 4 posts on Instagram, and then I'll do 3 to 4 on YouTube, 4 to 5 on TikTok, and I'm consistently showing up every week, which I think has made a huge difference. So if you are somebody who's in the creative realm or does work online, definitely show up with consistency. But that doesn't have to just be with your work. That could just be in general in your life, going to the gym or getting out for a walk or developing a sleep schedule. So if you're more of a wellness girly, it's more about consistency than all or nothing. That is something that I've learned as I've gotten older. I cannot hammer that home enough. So the next point that I think has really moved the needle forward is not overthinking. Now, I know so many people who overthink every decision in their business. And look, you can translate it into your life too. This doesn't just have to be for entrepreneurs, but just stop overthinking everything. There's so much that's gonna hold you back if you constantly replay scenarios over and over again in your head and don't actually take an action behind it. I've put out so much content that I look back at now and I'm like, well, that maybe wasn't as good as it could have been. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't my highest level of content creation, but I got it done. And I think I'm better off for it. Of course, we're not producing $1 million movies here, so not everything that you create has to be this spectacular show. And I'm not saying don't put hard work into it or quality into your work. Definitely quality check your work and be proud of what you're putting out. But I think if your thoughts of what isn't working and your thoughts of like, well, maybe it's not good enough, or I'll just wait another week, that is holding you back more. I think people that hum and haw over their website, for example, and change it a million different times, that is going to hold you back from getting new clients. So just get it out there. You can change things as you go. Not every, launch has to be perfect. I think about my candle business. I launched back in the day with North Star Candle Co., the same name that I have now. My branding is pretty similar because I did work with a branding expert, but my content has changed over the years. My posts look a bit different. It's not who I was 2 years ago is not who I am now. Even on YouTube. Doing videos a few years ago, I was doing a lot more travel and adventure content, and now I do more wellness and entrepreneurial and routine-based content. But I don't regret what I did a few years ago. I think we are allowed to evolve, we're allowed to change and level up and find new avenues that we're really interested in without overthinking it. And I honestly don't think I would be where I am today if I overthought every single decision that I made in my life and in my business. So I would say try to let it go, try to take a deep breath, and just do it. Just do it. As Nike says, just do it. Because I think you'll just be way better off. So try to take that energy into 2026. The third point I want to make about my business ins and what has worked for me as a business owner and entrepreneur in 2025 is really aligning with your values and aligning with your brand. I think if you don't have a clear messaging of what you're trying to share with people and the mission statement that you are trying to put out into the world, you're going to have a lot harder of a time. I personally did a huge content deep dive breakdown back in May, June, which was the first time I feel like I've really overhauled my niche of being okay, who am I targeting? Now, question number one, you want to ask yourself, who is your audience? Who are the people that you're speaking to? What is your mission statement? Can you tell somebody in a few sentences or less what your content or your business is about? If you're spending 5 minutes to describe it, you're probably not specific enough. I'm not saying pick one specific niche, but I think you have to be able to solve people's problems. You have to benefit people in a certain way because that's just the way human brains work. So really getting clear on your personal values, your business values, your brand statement, do that homework. That's something that I have done. Like I said, I did it in May and June this year, and then I did it again 3 weeks ago. I've actually had people audit my channel, audit my social media pages to really help me see clearly as to, what I'm working towards, what areas I can do better in, and really, really get specific about my mission statement. So that's been a huge game changer this year. I think that might be the biggest piece that has moved my business forward. So the next piece of positivity and what I think has really worked this year is hiring help. Now, I know I've talked about this in a lot of my other videos, so I won't get too intense about it, but I think hiring a virtual assistant has been another piece that has really moved things forward in my business. It's freed up 5 to 6 hours a month of my time that I can now spend on things that only I can do, like filming this YouTube video, for example. I have a virtual assistant who helps with accounting, who helps with posting on certain social media channels, who helps with pitching brands for my UGC work, and who helps me really just align with my brand values and bounce ideas around for. Like, it's really nice to have just like a brain that can help you see outside of your business. So I personally, I don't have a huge package with my virtual assistant. I would love to, but I don't make enough money yet to be able to hire her like part-time, for example. But I definitely feel a huge weight off my shoulders with those 5 to 6 hours a month. And I think even if you can commit to a small package with a virtual assistant, that is going to make a big difference. And if you're in that like middle ground of your business, like you're making more money than you were, but you're not like making 10K months yet, I think it's really important to bring somebody on to help. And maybe if you're not a business owner or a content creator, like just in your life, are there areas that you could outsource some work? I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day, and she was saying she actually hired a cleaner at her house because that freed up like 3 hours of her time, and she could spend those 3 hours doing something else. More specifically with work, but maybe it's like 3 hours to spend with your family, or you know, you can put your energy to go into something else. I just think there's ways to alleviate some of the stress and time and commitment of so many things in our life by hiring help. So that was a big one for 2025 for me. And the last point of positive wins and things I've learned in 2025 that have really helped me as a business owner is, this is kind of unconventional, but going with the flow and not going through deep dives of emotion. Now hear me out. I think it's so easy as a business owner or somebody who's really working hard towards something and wants to achieve a big goal. It is so easy to get discouraged, to get stressed out, to get tired, to want to give up. Like, those feelings happen to me probably like monthly. But this pairs with my consistency point. You have to just let the emotions come and go. Not every week is going to feel the same. You're going to have weeks where you're uninspired. You're going to have weeks that you are tired, or you aren't seeing growth. But I think you have to push through that. If you can push through those feelings of frustration and stuckness and tiredness, you will be better for it. It's like that whole point of being consistent and just showing up is better than like the all or nothing mentality. So just remember that like it's normal to have off days. You would have a normal bad day at work if you worked in an office, for example. Just because things aren't going your way doesn't mean that it's all bad. It could just be a blip in your business, and maybe you need to take a few days off to regroup, but don't stop for like a month. Don't stop for 3 weeks. Like, take your space, take a couple days, and then get back into it. I think we just have to kind of keep the flow going, because trust me, I've been there. I have had many days where I'm like, what am I doing? But then I get back on the saddle and I keep going. And I really think that is going to be a big game changer in your creative entrepreneurial journey and your journey as a small business owner. So those are my ins. Those are my what's working in 2025 in my business. And now I'm going to dive into the outs and what hasn't worked and what I will move away from. Okay, first things first. This one really stood out to me when I was reflecting on what hasn't worked this year. Underpricing services. I understand now is a really hard time with the economy. It's really a hard time to be a small business owner. You know, I think there's a lot of noise on the internet of girls making millions of dollars and 6 figures all the time, but the reality is the majority of creators and business owners are not. There's a statistic I read recently, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it was from a business growth course, and 8 out of 10 businesses are like 1 month away from shutting their doors, which is terrifying. So, you know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows and money falling from the sky, because I feel like Instagram will make you think that it is, and how to make 10K months. Like, the majority of people are not in that position. So, but I think there's a fine line of where we can improve. So, for example, I have a candle business, right? I was only charging $30 a jar for one of my signature scents, which, to give you some context, the jars are expensive. I buy very clean fragrances. I buy very nice quality wax. And so I was underpricing my candles for way too long. I still feel like I am underpricing them, but I don't feel like people have the money right now to spend on something like candles and to spend more than $30. I have increased my prices a little bit, but I feel kind of bad because I'm like, well, I still want people to be able to buy them. But underpricing your services, underpricing your products, you're just not doing any good to yourself. I think we need to find a balance between like what's realistic and what will help you grow and help you bring in an income, but also not overcharging people because then they're going to get scared and not want to work with you. I think that there's a very fine line. And so for me, I kind of met myself in the middle. Now, instead of charging 30, 32 for a vessel, I charge 35, 36 for like a larger candle, which is still a lot lower than other vendors, but I do feel like I'm at a pretty good place of like, I'm still making money, but I'm not overcharging people, and I feel like it's fair. Same with, content creation. I used to do videos for 50 bucks all the time, even 100 bucks. But now I'm like, I should at least be charging $125 per video. And now that's UGC, that's not influencer content. I know influencer content is a whole other ballgame. But remember, it's your time, maybe it's your image that you are gonna be putting out into the internet that they get to use. It's the editing time, it's the usage rights. Like there's just so many factors I think that we need to keep in mind about our services and pricing them accordingly. Don't undervalue yourself. It's very important that you track everything that goes into what you are charging, because at the end of the day, you will just be so much more thankful that you took the time to figure out what things actually cost and you did not undermine your values. So stop underpricing your services and or your products. The next point of things I'm letting go of and what I know I can improve on as we head into 2026 is spreading yourself too thin. Now, I think everybody does this. It's not just business owners. It's not just creatives. It's anyone who has kids, has a family that they are taking care of, parents that are maybe aging. You have a job that you're taking on more responsibilities than you are meant to be in that role. As somebody who does a lot of different things, as I added it up in the beginning, it is so easy to get overworked, burnt out, and not specific in what you're doing. So this is something I've been working on for years. Like I would say my business has really started to take off in 2023. I would say it took me 2 years to kind of get to a place where I felt I was at the same kind of spot I was back when I lived in Toronto. So like between moving and starting a new career and making new friends and having a new relationship, it took me 2 years to really like settle into my groove and my routine. So in 2023, I was like, okay, cool. I'm really happy with where I'm at. So then the last like 2 to 3 years, that has just been like finessing what I'm working on. How can I, become more clear in my vision? What goals am I really setting out to work on? Where do I want to put my energy? And it's been amazing because I feel like I'm doing so many things that I love doing, but I've gotten to a place where I'm like, oh, I'm actually now doing too many things. So I challenge you, sit down. What are you working on? It doesn't have to just be work focused, but life focused, friends, health. Try to pare down. Try to just not spread yourself so thin. Because I think if we're doing a million things with only, a quarter of the energy, you're not gonna get to the same place you wanna get in an amount of time. Now look, I think entrepreneurs and business owners wear so many hats. So many of the richest people out there do so many different things, but they definitely have to focus their energy into something in order to get to that level, and then they can spread themselves out a little bit more. And look, I'm not saying only choose one thing. I think just like pick the most important things, put the most amount of energy into those things, and then decide, what gets a little bit less of your attention. So maybe that's, hiring a virtual assistant to help. Maybe that's hiring an employee. For me, I want to hire somebody to help pour candles next year, which will be a big help in my business. Maybe that's letting go of a project you don't really care about anymore. Think where to start is figure out your priorities and then decide where you're going to put your energy from there, and try to pare down a little bit this year. Try it out and let me know if it makes a difference for you. So the next part of this video, I wanna do a little reflection journaling situation here. So we wrote this blog, as I mentioned, and the title of the blog is Real Talk for Small Business Owners, What's Working versus What's Not. And I do have some prompts, journaling prompts that you can take away and do this exercise on your own. So these are questions that I want you to ask yourself as we move into 2026. What are my favorite parts of this business? What do I enjoy doing the most? What are my least favorite parts of running my business? Is there anything I can outsource to someone else to free up my time? Where did I find the most success this year? Is my brand and messaging as clear as it can be? Am I locked into my schedule? Am I using my time productively? and where can I improve in my small business? So those are some questions that I think are really helpful to just reflect as we end a year and go into a new year. Like, take time to answer those questions. I will link the blog below so you can click on it and read them yourself more slowly. But also, like, write down too, what did you enjoy doing this year? What wasn't working for you? What was working? And just take those lessons into 2026. I think the more we can become clear in our journey, the easier it will be. So that wraps up the video for today. Those are the things that I am continuing to take into 2026 and what I'm leaving behind in 2025. It's been another really interesting year. I feel like I had mentioned 2023 personally in my business was like a big breakthrough year. 2024, I saw a lot of growth and change. 2025, I feel like it's kind of leveled out. Like, it hasn't been like a whoa, big change year, but it also haven't stayed stagnant. It almost just feels like it's like a little bit more growth. I'm just continuing on with my consistency and things are just like slowly improving month by month. And I think that's just the reality of true business. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't always happen in a year. It might take 5 years. Like, I've been doing candles for 3 years and I'm just seeing small growth every single year. So if you can take anything from that, I hope it inspired you. I'd love to hear down below what your thoughts are on being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, and where you have noticed room for improvement this year and what's really worked for you. So I love to hear all the stories. So please comment down below. Thank you so much for being here. I have a few more videos coming out this month before we head into the holidays, and I will be taking about 10 days off. So excited to have a little bit of a break, but I can't wait to get back and do a ton of exciting new content in January of 2026. See you guys later. Bye.